And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back, and I have I have Heather Beck with me. Welcome to another edition of the live stream on the Bow Wow Bill page. I have the one and only Heather Beck from Salt Lake City, Utah. And how you doing, Heather?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so excited. I finally made it to the Bow Wow Bill show. This is awesome.
I'm so
So,
excited
yeah,
too.
thanks for having me. This is great.
And we already have people joining us. And just like always, give me a few seconds here and let me share this. And if you're watching us, go ahead and hit that share button. Heather's an awesome chick, and we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. And so make sure to get this spread out far and wide. And while I am sharing this, Heather, do you want to do a quick introduction and tell people
Sure.
what you're all about?
Okay, sure. Yeah, my name is Heather Beck. I own a Canine Lifeline in Draper, Utah. That's just kind of a smaller city within Salt Lake City. So it doesn't take too long to get to the Salt Lake City airport for me. I have been working with dogs in a lot of different capacities for about 22 years now. I've run a large breed and pit bull rescue. I've worked as an animal control officer. I moved into training because I kind of felt that was a good place for me to be and be able to help dogs in the best capacity possible. I tried with rescue for a long time, and I felt I was standing at the bottom of a waterfall. So when I started getting into training, I felt like I was standing at the top. So I feel like I technically save more dogs every year now than I ever have. So one of the big things I'm really well known for is definitely our Saturday socials, which is our indoor socialization for difficult dogs, silly dogs, goofy dogs, to help maintain, regain, and have good social skills. So that's drawn attention of a lot of people all around. But that's what I do.
Awesome. So tell me, the training on top of the waterfall and rescue on the bottom of the waterfall. Can you expand on that just a little bit? What did you mean by that?
Well, I think when I was doing rescue, I mean, I was definitely running a large rescue, and it was just me. It was my rescue, and I was averaging about 75 dogs a month adopted out. But I only had 16 kennels, so if you kind of think of the numbers that come with that, a lot would go out, but then a week later I would get some back, and just the rotation.
Mm,
And that's kind of where my skills in training really kind of developed, because I would still talk to people about crate training or leash work and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I would spend 2 hours with somebody and send this dog home with them, and they saw such a good dog, but then without any structure, they really didn't maintain what I had created with the dog. So the dogs ended up coming back. So through training, I feel that when I'm working with a human that already knows that they have a problem or they have an issue that they want resolved, I feel like when the dog has an advocate like that, I just feel like I can just help them to stay in the home so much better. Because if somebody already committed, when people adopt, they don't necessarily know or see that they could have a potential problem. They just see the dog at the beginning and they just want to love it and give it affection and that. So I really try and perpetuate, starting strict, structure, discipline, crate training, leash work, and then being able to relax. But the standing at the bottom of the waterfall, I definitely started drowning. I got really, really burnt out doing rescue. It was just never ending. So once I started getting into training, and I was telling people all of the same information, but they were actually appreciating what I was telling them.
right.
That made a difference. And then they started paying me to tell them what I was telling them. So it was really cool. And I just started to really vibe on that I was just like, wow, this is such a feel good place to be. Where in the rescue world, it was more of, yeah. Okay, we'll just take the dog. But when people were really starting to come to me for training and they already knew that they had a problem and they could see that I had a bit of a solution, they were just there, bright eyed and bushy tailed and ready to do what I was wanting them to do. So it was definitely much more feel good for me. Not that I didn't have feel good moments in rescue, but I'll tell you, there's a lot more heartache. So in training, I mean that it's a very, very feel good career, and I feel that's why a lot of people are drawn to it as well. So I like being at the top of the waterfall. I can't stop it all, but at least I can seem to have a little bit more effect from that angle.
Well, I like that analogy. It makes sense because that waterfall is not just, the waterfall of continuous dogs that are streaming on
Yeah.
you, but people
Hmm.
don't realize that, there's kind of an energetic residue that remains when you have so much on your plate. And when you're dealing with so
Absolutely.
many people and so many dogs, and you know that there's more coming, and and it just becomes this this kind of self-defeating purpose. But people want to get into it because they have love in their heart.
Yep.
But a lot of times they're in for a rude awakening once they're in the thick of it. And
Yeah.
the training aspect definitely is much more purposeful. um, and you do still have, even though you're doing the training, you do still have a rescue arm that you're starting
Mhm.
back up, correct?
I've never really let it go. I still always have dogs available for adoption. We just got a dog from Taiwan. She actually was in Vancouver with the family for a couple months, but ended up getting very reactive with people. I think she was reactive on leash with dogs with them too. And so my friend Mary, who I went and taught a workshop with her in Taiwan, it was really interesting. It was being translated into Chinese during the workshop. And then I helped her with her
Wow.
rescue as well. She actually surprised me this last Saturday and showed up to surprise me with this dog. Not surprise me, I asked her, but she had me convinced that it was her sister bringing the dog. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I couldn't understand why she was staying for so many days. I'm like, it's fine. You can just drop the dog off. And so she came. So yeah, I mean, I can never really get away from rescue. It's something that I love. I love being a part of it, and just having that aspect where I still can continue to do that, because those are the feel good. And now where I'm so much more limited in the rescue side, I can be so picky about owners and homes. With all of the dogs that we adopt out, they get free training and boarding for life, so they become part of our family. So it's more feel good the way that I'm doing it now.
Yeah, well, you're doing it your way, and
Yeah.
because you can, and because
Yeah.
you have structured it in a way that enables you to do this. And
Yes.
and I think that's important too, because that it provides an amount of social proof that you're headed in the right direction.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've had a lot of experiences, that I've been heartbroken, and learned that you can't always save them all. And so I really try and take on dogs that are going to make great family members. I think everybody deserves to adopt Lassie. I think everybody deserves a dog that they can tell, their kids can tell their grandkids about. And those are usually the dogs that I'm seeking out, when I'm looking to foster dogs. They might have a little quirks here and there, but I really want to be able to put really decent, amazing dogs into people's homes, and that's where it can be really feel good.
Yeah, absolutely, amen. And that's why we do what we do, is because that influence that the dog can bring to our lives is such magical. I mean, I remember when I was a kid growing up, and always being drawn towards dogs. Is that same with you? Do you remember as a little girl always wanting to work with
Oh
animals
yeah.
and dogs? Or,
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of animals, but I grew up in a house that was on a very, very busy road. So I actually had more of a pet cemetery than I actually had
yeah,
pets. I didn't have a lot of things that could survive long. I mean, if they got out, they got hit and killed on the road, which was really, a bit devastating. So when I was younger, I actually didn't have dogs. I had a couple cats, and then I had a room full of, it looked like a pet store. So I had snakes and feeder mice and hamsters and guinea pigs and lizards, and I mean literally just wall to wall aquariums of reptiles and things like that. So those were kind of the things that I had in my room. But I also spent a lot of time with horses when I was young as well. So that was more it. I just couldn't have a dog when I was young, so I had to grow up and move all the way across the country from Wisconsin to Utah to have my first dog.
well, that's what I was going to ask, is where you grew up at.
Yeah, Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin, but the weather is not conducive to what I like to do when I ski and snowboard. So Utah is definitely the place to be.
Yeah, you're a big snowboarder too, and you are a pilot as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, I just got my pilot's license in December. I have a plane that has still needed some mechanical stuff. We were working on the annual and a couple of things that were getting done, but my main goal is really I want to start flying dogs around the country. I honestly think that if I continue moving forward in my in my pilot stuff, I would like to get a commercial license. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that people are like, I need to fly this dog. I'm terrified to put it in cargo. I don't want to take the chance of it dying, I mean, and that's just real. I mean, that's just what it is. And so many airlines are not allowing certain breeds, which are most of the breeds that I like. So, I mean, I could definitely fly people with their dogs, anywhere that they needed to go. It wouldn't just have to be a rescue thing. It's, hey, I've got to get from here to here and I want to bring my dog, and hey, I'll pick you up and drop you off. So that's that might be something I'd be doing down the road a bit.
Maybe fly some dog trainer friends to Vegas with you too.
Yeah, Vegas is actually really close. It only takes me from here. Like I could come pick you up in a couple hours and then take you down to Vegas, no problem. So
That's what
yeah,
I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know it sounds so high class. It's really, man, it's been a lot of work. And I compared a lot of the, I mean, it took me a year to get my license. So I compare a lot of, like the learning curve of doing that, like, hey, I can't just jump into the cockpit and understand what all these dials and, compasses. I mean, I can't just understand what all that means. And then the more that I practiced and the more that I flew and the more that I took off and the more that I landed, everything became so much clearer. So it, just ended up, I compare a lot to that with dog training, where a lot of people get so frustrated that they're not good at it right away. And it's like, well, you weren't good when you first started driving, and I do make the analogy of flying the plane too, where I'm like, well, now everything is clear to me, still can be, obviously still always learning, but I'm better than I was the first day I started. So it's, it sounds very, it sounds fun, which it really is, but it's definitely a lot of work, a lot of studying, passing tests, a lot of stress when you're having a bad day flying. And it's, but it's worth it. It's definitely a life goal, and I'm super happy to have actually achieved it. I had no idea. Oh, funny thing, I get completely motion sick too. So that was like the worst. So I literally still struggle with it because you can't take anything. You can't take a Dramamine. You can't take anything when you're flying, and you're trying to fly, looking at all these gauges in front of you, while you're moving, at a, 160 miles an hour, you're like, so it's really been a bit of a struggle, but something that I've overcome. And that was one of the reasons I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to do it, because I just got so sick every time that I would fly. I wouldn't throw up, but it would take me hours to recover from a headache, even just from flying for, an hour maybe. So, but I'm working through that, and I've been happy to take on that challenge and succeed. So it's good.
I think that it's interesting that you like it to the learning process of the dogs, because it is the exact same thing, and if we were to take a snapshot of you during the first couple lessons, I mean, your face probably wouldn't look like you wanted to be there, right? And then that's where a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, my dog doesn't like this, or working through that.
Yeah, it's stressful. Learning is stressful. It is. I mean, I guarantee my face was green. I guarantee I was drooling a lot. But yeah, learning is stressful. So it's, I mean, it really is, and it's exactly true. When people say they don't want to put their dogs through stress, it's like, well, then they're never going to learn anything. They will never learn if we don't kind of hold their hand, even when they are stressed, and help them through it. I mean, that's our goal as trainers and owners. I mean, to help our dogs have those experiences in a positive way. So, yeah.
Confusion is concepts being fused, and so we have to wait and keep our eye on that big prize, right? So confused. So just
you're so smart. This is why I love talking to you. You're the smartest guy.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, and let me really quick say hello to our listeners and viewers right now. We have 14 of them. So we got Sue says hi, Bill and Heather, and Mary says, yay, we'll be back to listen to this later. Excellent. And John Sparks, hey, Johnny, he says, hi, Heather. Hey, Billy. So thank you very much.
She is in Texas, and she has just got the cutest little 3-legged dog that I love the most. So I hope when she comes back to join us, that'll be good. So hi, say hi to your 3-legged dog for me.
Me too. Me too. And then speaking of 3-legged dog, you got a 3-legged dog from me yesterday.
Oh, I am so excited. Well, I currently have a 2-legged dog. That's one that I got from Taiwan. My friend Mary, I got that dog from there when I was there working. And then I have had one of my heart dogs is Samson, who just passed away about a year and a half ago. Was 3-legged. Yeah. So yeah, I am so excited. I totally appreciate it. And the one that I got from you at the IACP conference, I literally look at it every day because it's on this little ledge next to my toothbrush. So every day
Awesome.
when I brush my teeth, I'm like, oh, Bill made that. That's so cute. So I will definitely appreciate it. I have a spot for it on the mantle here. So I'm looking forward to the little guy arriving. Hey, Michelle.
Very cool. Yep, Michelle. Hey, Lisa. Hey, guys, watching, listening as I preps the dog's dinner. Excellent, excellent. So you have two locations. You're in Salt Lake, but you also, I mean, you specialize in well, you do train, you do boarding, you do you specialize in socialization. You're a socialization specialist.
Yes.
And how do you go about doing your social? I can't even talk.
Man, we're just gonna have to change the word. How about we just say socials? How's that work?
Yeah. What do your socials look like? How do you do your socials?
Well, pretty much. I mean, we do run a training, boarding, and daycare facility, but everything that we do is actually very training based. So even if somebody comes to us for daycare, they may be expecting their typical daycare where it's just barking and chaos and whatnot. But we actually run a very structured daycare. 80 to 90% of the dogs that come to us have come to us with issues, either human, dog aggressive, or both. I have never ever turned a dog away for daycare. I've turned one dog away for boarding, a very, very human aggressive dog that I didn't even turn away. I said, I just need you to do training with us before we can board your dog again. So everything that we do is very, very structured. And we are kind of becoming a bit of the standard for clients with dogs that they really care about, that they really want to have some sort of structure. If you put in a bunch of time in training and then you're taking your dog to a daycare where they're not providing any type of structure, any type of guidance, it just all goes out the window. So we have what we like to call the perfect trifecta, which is daycare is for the dog, training is for the client, and then our weekend classes, our Saturday social and our walk the walk handling class are actually for both together to continue building that relationship. So that's kind of our our mantra as far as that goes. But yeah, everything is very structured. Everything is very training based. The dogs love it. Dogs absolutely love it. The people love it because the dogs go home tired and sleeping, but it's not because they've been crazy and anxious all day. It's because they've actually been thinking and learning and really cohabitating with other dogs and having interactions, so that's a big one. And then obviously that kind of translates over into our Saturday socials, which we do with our clients as well. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then how long have you been doing these Saturday socials where you get all these dogs together and you just walk them around, right? And inside?
Yes, yeah, all of ours are inside. So I've actually got two areas now that we run socials in, but every Saturday right now we run 5 classes every Saturday. So we have our 10 and 11 o'clock classes. They're all a half an hour for our kind of our more serious adult dogs. Then 12 o'clock we have our break, which is our small dogs and puppies, anything under 30 pounds. And then we actually added 2 more classes because I found a lot of dogs that were big puppies. I couldn't put them in with the serious dogs because all the serious dogs wanted to kill them, and then I couldn't put them in with the small dogs because they were playing really rough. Yeah, and they were just playing too rough, and it wasn't fun for the small dogs. So we basically created 2 more classes, which we call our party animal classes. So these are our bigger dogs, over 30 pounds, but there's a lot of adrenaline, there's a lot of play, there's a lot going on, but it's you put the perfect dog in the perfect class, and it's just, they learn so much. So it works out really well. And I've been running those pretty much, I think, every Saturday, I think for about 12 years now. So, and I've run at least 3 classes ever since I started. And then I've, just kind of continued to grow and continue to add people and dogs. And, we've helped thousands upon thousands of dogs over the years to do that. And in those years, people are always, well, how many dogs get hurt or how does this happen? And in all of those years, I've had blood drawn 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you think of that, the numbers, the classes, I mean, that is thousands upon thousands of dogs, and most of them coming into us with issues. So every Saturday, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, for 12 years, you could just do the numbers. I mean, 50 weeks a year, that's 500, that's 600 classes times 3, that's 1,800 classes just right there, and the multiple dogs in each class, and then the multiple interactions that happen within the multiple dogs, it's it's an
It's insane.
astonishing number
Yep.
of interactions that you see. And I think that's very telling that you don't have. I mean, I've walked into some of these daycares that are volatile. I've done some consultant work for a daycare that was almost shutting down because
Right.
of putting
Incidents.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean serious incidents.
Yeah.
Where dogs are. One dog was killed, another dog was hurt
Oh.
very bad, and that was it. I mean, one of the ladies thought it was a good idea to walk in there and to diffuse a situation by taking a bunch of food and throwing it.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. And that's where that's where our facility, like that we have this training mentality, that really is that whole thing where it's like, man, we've got a training mentality here. It's all structured. We want your dog to be safe. And that's just what we do. So I absolutely, love that we can run a safe facility. I mean, we don't, in our daycare, I mean, we're running our daycare 5 days a week, but we've got dogs there 7 days a week. So if you want to look at some serious numbers, we run 3 socials with dogs in our care every single day, in 3 kind of locations where we've got small dogs, puppies, we've got our large dog daycare and boarding, and then we have our complete other facility. So you start looking at those numbers where clients aren't there. And that situation, I've had one kind of serious issue that happened, but nobody died. Everybody was okay. And then rarely is there, I mean, I can't even think of the last time blood was drawn, but even in a serious way. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen. I mean, we just take so many precautions, and that's what when I'm teaching workshops and having shadow programs, it's like, that's the things I want to teach. If people are going to take this on, hey, if you want to socialize dogs, let's show you all of the precautions. Let's show you how to make it safe, how to make it easy. I mean, I want these methods, and I mean, I want this to be the norm. I don't want Disneyland daycare to be the norm anymore, because it's not safe, it's not smart. The number of dogs that can actually go to those daycares are very limited, and usually they don't always last for very long until they get hurt or get kicked out, or then they come to us. So we have a nice niche.
Well, how do you, like when you admit a dog, I've seen or when dogs go home, I've seen that be kind of a problem. How do you have single dogs exit the daycare and enter the daycare? Do you have a run or anything, or?
No, we actually, I mean, we can control space really, really well. So in the morning, all of our dogs are out as we're bringing dogs in, but we control space very well. We use the crops, so they're the 50-inch, extension of your arm. I mean, I can clear a 10-foot, space around any gate, around any dog. So even if I bring in a truly, dog aggressive dog, I can walk that dog through a room of 50 or 60 dogs and never, ever have a face-to-face interaction, or never have an interaction at all if I choose. So it kind of basically allows that animal to be able to come in, feel safe, feel comfortable, not feel like they have to go into fight. So controlling space is really important. And also at the end of the day, I feel it's really important that dogs get rest during the day. So they actually get put up in the middle of the day for downtime. They're all kenneled. And then at the end of the day, when pickup starts to happen, we put all the dogs up. So from 4 to 7, when our pickup is, the dogs are away, and then we're just pulling them out of their kennels. Anybody who's running a daycare, anyone who's running a daycare, I mean, that is the most dangerous time. The end of the day, where the dogs are tired, they're irritable, they're cranky. And even if you have the ability to control space, you still might back a dog up into another dog and bump them. So that's just another one of those precautionary tales of just saying, hey, put all the dogs away, then just grab them out of their kennels. They're happy to be resting. Trust me, a couple hours here and a couple hours there of interactive social time. It's, I know you and me could handle being at a long party and dancing for 8 to 10 hours, but some dogs don't necessarily want that.
We've both been to Burning Man.
Several times, yes, absolutely.
Bring it on.
Yeah,
So,
Anita, I have danced for 24 hours straight, I must admit.
You have me going now. No.
Right?
Anita says, what's up, guys? Krista Melito says, hey, friends. Hey, Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Mark Davis says, hello from Tammy and I. Mark just got a new puppy Rottweiler to go with his big Rottweiler. And the puppy's paw, he held it right next to the adult paw, and it's like the same size. And I'm like, oh man, that's
Oh, well,
big.
I'm glad Mark knows some good help. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Sounds like a cutie for sure.
Susie Ruggiel, I think that's her last name. You have
Yes,
an
Sue.
awesome facility, she says.
Oh, Sue,
Uh,
thank you. Much
and then
appreciated.
So we have a comment here from Kenneth Jagman that says, "I run a training program from our day from a daycare here, and it's like pulling teeth to get them to understand that running 20 to 25 dogs in a yard with one handler and
Oh,
1,500 square feet is not safe." But most daycares do not understand that. Unfortunately, yes,
yeah. Start your own. Start your own daycare. Do it your way. I mean, it is. I mean, if it's trying to pull teeth, and I mean that's usually where people get hurt. That's where dogs die. That's where I mean the really bad incident that we had at our facility was another dog attacking another dog, and what happened is all the dogs were out in the room because the girl, she brings them out. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. So one person in the room, bad idea. That's something we never do. It's always two people, especially three if we're moving them through gates or anything like that. And she actually had to go back out into the yard because not all the dogs had come into the yard. And then before you know it, one dog is actually trying to mount another one. And then we have this big shark that came over and grabbed onto the dog. So the nice thing, I've got video surveillance all over my facility. So when things happen, when things go sideways, we can always look back. We can always learn. We can always know. That was just a big mistake. I mean, it should have never happened, and it hasn't happened since. So when I hear that, where there's, one person in the yard and 20 to 25 dogs, and especially if they don't know how to break up fights, how to read body language, that's just deadly. It's just deadly. I apologize, but quit your job, start your own thing. Come down for a shadow program. I'll help you out.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't think that you need to apologize. I think that you're dead on, and that's it. Is that we are advocates for these dogs, and as a higher consciousness being that forms an environment that these dogs come in, it only makes sense to make that environment the safest one possible for the
Yep.
dogs and the person as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you got to keep an eye out on staff too, and that's always a struggle, is trying to find people to, that you can keep training and keep helping them and make sure that they're learning to be able to, run a room consistently. I mean, my kennel techs have a heck of a lot more experience than most trainers because my kennel techs are dealing with hundreds of dogs in a day or in a week, where they're seeing tons and tons of interactions and tons of things like this, and they're getting to learn from each other, learn from us when I'm not having to do administrative stuff. But it's such about experience too, knowing what to correct, how to correct. And it's a hard profession to teach though too, because there's so much gray. So you can have 10 people standing in the room and see a behavior happen, and you're going to have 10 different perceptions of what happened, how it should have been corrected, how it should have been stopped, if it should have been corrected, if it should have been stopped. So that's when it gets really hard to teach, is it really just has to come from experience. Nothing outweighs experience ever. So
Well, and erring on the side of caution is what I tell people too. Like, even though this is probably not going to be an incident, I
yeah,
still can't allow this to continue, just because, and especially, when I'm an advocate for a child or something like that,
right.
even though this dog is a totally zen, chill dog, I'm like, I don't want that dog or that kid jumping on that dog. I don't want that kid riding that dog. I don't want that kid
Right.
right up in that dog. Whenever people tag me in the videos, I'm just like, hey, thank you for tagging me, but I never advocate for this type of behavior, because it's usually the dog who pays for this and a miscommunication on the dog and the human's end, and the dog pays for it a lot of times with their life.
Always. Yeah, and I say that to people all the time. We deal with a lot of very difficult dogs that end up having to be just management cases. And I tell people that all the time, where I just say, hey, if this dog ever screws up, it's not going to be the dog's fault. You know what I mean? It's like management broke down. You didn't protect the dog. You didn't help him. You thought he could handle something that he couldn't, so that's always where I say, hey, you can't blame the dog when they get put into situations that and they know they can't handle. So it's, you've got to help them out. And I feel the same way, whether it's a large social area, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's you're out walking your dog at Home Depot and some crazy kid comes running up. Same thing, I try not to take a lot of chances, and I try and protect a lot of dogs. Can you hear my cow mooing?
No, I don't want to.
Yeah, he's out there. He thinks he's starving to death right now. He's on a bit of a diet, so he's out there going like crazy. But
Diet. How many animals do you have now?
I actually have, so I have the cattle. So I've got my Texas Longhorn that I train for riding. Then I have my Scottish Highlander, mini Scottish Highlander. So they're the guys with all the hair. And then I have a goat, and I have 2 horses. So I have a Halflinger, who's like the smallest draft horse that you can have. She's 18. And then I have a mini who's tiny, tiny, tiny. He's 28. And then I have 3 camels. So I have my herd of camels. So.
What made you get camels?
Oh, I don't know. At first I was looking at alpacas, and then I just kind of jumped up. I'm like, well, why would I waste my time with alpacas? And actually, I went to go to a camel or an alpaca ranch, and she said, yeah, they usually do okay in pairs, but she said usually I won't sell them unless I'm selling them in groups of 4. And I was like, oh my God, my husband's never gonna let me get 4 alpacas. So I end up getting 1 baby camel. Like, how can you argue? It's like 1 teeny tiny baby camel. Oh my God, little did I know. Lessons learned. This guy is a freaking handful. So of course, then I had to get him a friend, and then you got to get that guy a friend,
Yes.
So now I've got 3. So I'm a little bit of a camel. I actually have more camels than I have dogs right now, which is it's nuts. Like that to me is just insane. Absolutely.
So do you ride them and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. The one, so I have the baby. So the first one I got, and close the door for a second. And you don't have to listen to all the mooing. And the wind's kind of picking up, weird Utah storm. So the first camel I bought was a 4-week-old bottle baby. So he's not old enough to be ridden now. He just turned a year in January. They usually don't quite mature till about 3 or 4 that you can actually kind of start riding them here and there. They're really not mature until about 8 years old. Yeah, so very similar to horses. So then my other guy that I have, Colonel Mustard, I love him. He's a big dromedary. He's 9 years old. And when people come out, because my shadow students come out and hang out, they don't realize, that how friendly and affectionate these guys are. So like Colonel Mustard, I mean, he's 9 feet tall when he's got his head straight up, and you just say, hey, let me see your head, and he'll lower his head down, and he'll let you, pet him behind his ears. And so he can do rides like pony rides. And then I just got a new Bactrian, so the 2-hump kind of guy. So I just got a new Bactrian, and he is rideable, even free rein riding like a horse, but I just haven't pushed it yet. He's been, I've had him here for 2 weeks. I'm letting him settle, getting to know him a little bit, but hopefully sooner than later, I'll be out, cruising around my neighborhood on my camel. So I take him out for walks. Yeah. Oh my God, that would be hilarious. Yeah, I don't think he'd like all the music, but you never know. You can camp out way back.
Little earplug, little muffs, little earmuffs.
I know, little camel earmuffs. Oh, I would love it. Yeah, talk about exposure, right? And the one thing I will tell you that I love about Burning Man, no dogs. No dogs. Honestly, it is like when I get to go and I have the chance to go, I'm like, I don't have to worry, because if I go out camping and people bring their dogs, I'm like, great, my weekend's ruined. Like I can't calm down. Your dog's a jerk. Like now I have to worry about your dog all weekend. Because right, we're advocates. We're total advocates. So.
That's right. It's what we do. It's what we trade our lives for, know? And it's like, man, and if this is going to be in my little network of people, I gotta, tell you that this is, this could be better here, and sometimes it's not.
This could be better. That's like the gentlest approach ever. Yeah, this could be better.
This could be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like this.
It could be way better. Yeah, and so
people don't care, man.
Yeah, that's a fun escape. So it's a good time. It's a good time. Hi, Kana. Kana's actually getting a dog from me.
She's here. I'm setting up a new treadmill for dogs now. Gotta go, but we'll catch up on the recorded one. Yep. See you later.
Yeah.
I'll see you later. Have fun with the treadmill.
She's getting a dog from me. She's actually on our Canine Lifeline Live page. She swung through, and she was on a road trip with her dogs, kind of doing a thing. She came through and met a dog that we got. Of course, I'm still involved in rescue, so met this dog, Logan, who unfortunately his dad passed away, and nobody in the family could take him. He died very suddenly. I believe it was colon cancer. But it was, I mean, at the most 2 months from diagnosis to him dying. And this guy came every single weekend to our weekend classes. And so Connor got to meet Logan. And then I've just actually been sharing on her page, or on the live page, I've been showing videos of Logan and how he's doing, because she's got 4 little dogs. So I had to make sure he was good with the little dogs. So I've been kind of showing him hanging out with the little dogs, and she's been really happy. So, oh, there it is. That's our link.
Heather just mentioned her live page, and I just posted up a link, everybody. If you want to join, I mean, this is a wonderful resource. It's ridiculously cheap, about $29 a month, but I mean, you get live videos, and then you also have over 100 social or videos of socials, and you know what, and it's not just you, it's Jason Vasconi too. So what's the live all about?
So Canine Lifeline Live, it was honestly just this idea that came into my head. We'd actually been working with a TV company about starting a TV show, and so then I ended up, you know, they were actually trying to sell it to Facebook, because Facebook has put in a whole bunch of time and money into what's called Facebook Watch. And so I was just kind of like, well, that's interesting. I said, well, why couldn't I just set up my own TV show technically, you know, and just show people what our life is like at Canine Lifeline. And that's basically what Canine Lifeline Live is all about, is we're showing, you know, we're constantly showing live progressions of dogs training. We're constantly coming live to our socials, but everything's available. Oh, Krista, everyone should join. Thanks, Krista. But so we're constantly, you know, doing certain things. I'm there answering questions all the time. I don't sleep much. Anyone who's on that page knows that I'm super responsive when people are asking questions. But yeah, we've got tons and tons of information from business building. Jason Vasconi is actually in the process of building his location. So we're following through that as well. You know, like, hey, don't forget to put in a mop sink, you know, and how am I going to set this up, or where am I going to put kennels? And so we're following Jason through that process. I also talk about staff. I talk about employees. I talk about our programs. So it's just so much information, and it's ongoing. So you can either look back, you can join today and keep, you know, trucking forward with us. I mean, there's always content being added, and it's super, super interactive. So, so we love having people join that page. We love helping people kind of through our methods and our madness. And so it's a lot of fun. So I've got a nice community going there, and love seeing new faces and helping people to just see what we do and learn what we do in a really simple, fun, super crazy, stupid, affordable way. I mean, that's for a year, that's less than what you would spend to go to a weekend workshop. So, so we try to make it affordable for everybody that wants to learn and anybody that wants to join us. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Well, it makes sense. Just like what Kenneth was talking about at the comments about how it's like pulling teeth, how to get these people to run their daycare in a safer manner. You know, if they just took $30 a month, man.
Yep.
I mean, look at the resources that they could have to change their business, not only to increase their bottom line, but to make sure that the dogs are more fulfilled in a safer manner, that their employees are safer, that they retain their employees longer, because they're not getting bit. It's not chaos. They're not going deaf.
Yeah, and now we have a ton of shelter workers there too, that are learning, and they're actually starting to do transitional leash classes at their shelters, and they're joining us to watch that, because Jason runs a couple of those in his community. We're teaching group classes there, or showing how we run our group classes through that. So there's just so much information. It's insane. So we've got daycares, we've got shelter rescues, and we've got trainers, you know, high end, just starting. It seems like everybody's enjoying it. Everybody's learning. So it's just kind of growing right now. It's kind of like a secret club. So it's, you know, kind of growing organically, but it's been a lot of fun. Hi, Ness. Happy smiley faces.
Wait, let me see here. Oh, hey, Ness. And Krista too. You know, and that's just it. Is like the value that you'll receive for, you know, a little bit of money. And the link is it's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly.com, or excuse me, bit.ly/Canine Live 1. And
that's it.
What if somebody wants to come and shadow you? How do they go about doing that?
I don't have anything set up right now, but I do a ton of private shadows. So if anybody wants to come shadow, all they have to do is get a hold of me. I mean, send me a message on Facebook. I mean, I'm super accessible. So I'm not, I don't have 200 people you need to get a hold of. You can just send me a message. I'll usually shoot everything over to you. The information is on our website. But yeah, I mean, I've got all the private training stuff listed there. But I kind of throw stuff out every once in a while. I do have a workshop coming up in Vermont in October, but other than that, I'm pretty much around and love to have people come down and train with me at my location because it is it's the mecca of what we do. So it's a good spot to be.
Well, look at all these people. I'm looking at your website here, and we got some wonderful faces and
Right, that
just a
was a fun
wonderful crowd of
workshop.
people here.
Yeah, and that's mostly those are our bigger workshops, the 3D workshops. Jason and I do a lot of those together. So yeah, I've got one coming up in Vermont. I don't know if that one's up. Is that one? Oh yeah, that's the one from Vermont.
This one is it. I'm looking at it.
Yep, yeah, and that's actually a fundraiser for Burton
Right.
Snowboards. It's called Chill. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, that is such a fun workshop. It's pretty much just to raise money for underprivileged youth. It kind of brings my snowboarding community and my dog training world together. So I get to go hang out at Burton headquarters and talk about dogs. So it's pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited to get back there. I went 2 years in a row a couple years ago, took 2 years off, and then just heading back now. So it's fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Look at that
Nice.
cute puppy face.
Yeah, little burner.
Yep, super cute. Yeah, that's a great picture to put on the front of your website. I will tell you, you put a bunch of pit bulls on prong collars. Somebody with Fluffy ain't going to be calling you. So, a lot of
Well,
the stuff I
yeah.
help people with too is how to develop websites and, personal branding. I definitely talk a lot about personal branding and social media. It's so important these days to be involved in that stuff and to really have a presence that's positive and people can really get involved with and can vibe with you. So it's awesome.
Well, it's interesting that dog people, they are, especially they're entrepreneurs. They're kind of reaching out and blazing their own path. And one of the things that I've spoke about with Ted Ephthalmitis about the 5 things that we've learned as dog professionals is the number one thought that I said is, there's something that you have that's unique here, and don't lose that. Don't lose that in this,
Right.
as you learn and as you have different mentors and there's
Yep.
different things that you're going to learn, but there's still that why that is intrinsic and the intuitive nudge that made you work with dogs.
Right.
And don't lose that. Right.
Yeah, and I always, when people come and train with me, and they work with me and they vibe with what we do and they like our methods, our techniques and things like that. I always tell them, I say, hey, start with this because it's a script and it's a pretty well, put together method that you can literally go home today, take a dog and be able to walk them through this process fairly easy and have some really fantastic results. So start with this. This is how it sounds. This is how it looks. But, as you get better, you're going to develop your own style. You're going to develop your own analogies. You're going to develop your own, how to explain it to people, So it's, I always encourage people to make sure that they have something to start with because that's the hardest part is if you don't know, have something simple to start with, it can be very hard to move forward from that, So it's like, hey, take this, but then make it your own down the road, And I don't even care if you throw it all the way down the road, but, just start with this. I want this to be your confidence builder to give you something that you can, use as a stepping stone and then be able to move forward from. So I always encourage my shadow students or anyone that I'm working with or talking to take it, use it, and then, find your own way, see what happens.
Yes, yeah, see where it goes, and you'll see that there's a huge world with the dog training that, you can walk dogs or you can, get into precision sports and bite work, and
Yep,
there's many ways that you can bring this relationship with this dog. What was I going to say to you? I was going to say something, but I forgot all about it. Hopefully, it comes back to me. It was good too.
Oh man, it's Friday night,
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I mean, if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. But here it is.
Oh, it's back.
It's back. So when you have somebody that wants to work with dogs and they say that they want to work with dogs because they don't like people, what do you say to that?
I say I've never had a dog hand me a credit card. You know, so and it's very true. I haven't. So it's kind of, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you've got to work on your people skills. You've got to have people skills to be able to help dogs. And it doesn't do any good to be belittling or, forceful or be able to have this huge ego where I can do anything with dogs, because if you can't convey that positively to other people, it doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. So I hear that one a lot, and that's the first thing I always say is I say, well, dogs never handed me a credit card. Not that they couldn't. There's some really talented dogs out there, but to actually make a payment or to actually pay the bills, it's just never happened. It's always the human side. So you gotta take it both. And I will tell you, I love both sides. I love working with people. I really truly get invested in our clients. I get invested in my shadow students. I get invested in, anybody that reaches out to me by Facebook and says, hey, I'm having an issue. I'll send them a message a couple days later and be like, hey, how's that going? And I might not be sleeping thinking about it. So I do really, really enjoy the people side of things too. And I think that is probably a big key to my success, is that I enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that it's a people business, and Brad Strickland says that a lot of times the dog is just a symptom of an overall problem with the family unit. Maybe they just moved, maybe they got divorced, trauma in the whatever. There's something that's happening here, and sometimes we have to thin slice the situation to get to that and be like, oh, okay, cool, this makes much more sense now.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're there to do. We're like marriage counselors and psychologists, and, it's like dog trainer. If you actually look at, like, if we broke it down, like what we actually do, like actually training dogs is like, probably about 3 or 4 down, like literally marriage counselor, psychologist, it's all there. And then dog trainer kind of fits in somewhere below that. So you've got to wear a lot of hats in this industry. It's not just dog training,
Yeah, well, and a good hint that I tell dog trainers is that you never see a dog handing you a credit card. But what I would train my dogs to do is I would train my dogs to hand people my business cards.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Especially if they're on the fence, I would be like, okay, cool, we'll see you guys later. Hey, go give them my card. And then the dog would run up and give them my card. And I was like,
sold. Yeah, they're sold. I would have been sold, man. I'd been like, I need my dog trained. I don't know how or what, but I want my dog trained.
I wanted to hand out cards. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty easy to have them do. But a little marketing hint for you dog trainers out there, if you have somebody on the fence.
That is gold right there. That is freaking gold. Good job.
Well, people want to see it in action. I mean, and when they see it, and demo dogs are very important too. I mean, and you could take their dog, and in a few minutes, that dog is performing differently than they were on their leash. But you're absolutely correct. If we cannot convey that, communicate that in a way that can be carried onward, then you're kind of that crutch, that is needing to be there in order for this dog to behave. And we need to trust our dogs. We can't just have this one variable that is the constant that is going to be determining that dog's behavior. We need that dog to have an overall grasp of that life and how to behave and discern. And so we can really be proud of that dog. And so when we do positively reinforce and be like, dude, I'm so proud of you, that it's real.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And getting the people to see it. I mean, they have to see it to believe it. I'll tell you, if we're talking about trade secrets here, when people come, to do go homes, I always show them video of what their dog is doing, so that they can see it. Some people have like the glass, or they have the people kind of hide back, or they just bring the dog out. And I'm like, once people see the dog, their mind goes to mush. And especially when that reuniting happens, it gives me an opportunity to show them what the dog is capable of, because usually people get afraid because the dog comes out, or new trainers get afraid because the dog comes out to see the client and the dog goes nuts. Like, here's the association again coming back, but that's where you have to be able to work through that. So I show them video before we ever do any work and say, hey, let's take a look at what your dog's doing. And then we're going to show you, but I always explain, hey, there's going to be a little bit of regression because your dog's going to be happy to see you. They're going to have a strong association to what your relationship was. So today is going to be your first conversation, and they can actually think clearly when I'm showing them video and walking them through, some of the steps that we're starting with. So that's always something I love to help people out with. If you can give them to see a video, before you actually start working with their dog, it'll make things a lot clearer for them. So, hey,
Well, you
Jason.
can see when. Oh, Jason Cohen. I thought it was going to be Jason Vasconi. I got to have him. Hey, Jason, I love you.
Yeah, he's in Spain. He might be sleeping right now.
On the other side of the world. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and you can see, even if you want to talk to that person, you can see their eye is on their dog, and they're not.
They can't hear you. They cannot hear you.
No,
No.
they can't.
No. Now, it is like calming them down a bit, though, because they come back in, they're usually a little nervous, a little anxious, just like a dog. And so when you kind of walk them through the video and you do that, it kind of can settle their nerves even before they actually start handling their dog or working with their dog. So I've found a lot of success with doing that for sure. It's been a good little thing for me. I don't know how or when I started it, but it's been a long time. So we always have a video room.
Well, we utilize this technology. Even with, the different technologies that we have available for our training, that just makes things better. And if we have something that is just that little bit that, and anytime that I'm going to start doing that, shoot a little video, because anytime that I bring a dog home, I'm walking in that house by myself, and I'm having a powwow with that family and just be like, hey, and Sherry Lucas says that it's kind of like rehab, getting out of a rehab center, especially when we're working with the behavior rehab. And that
you're sending them right back home to a home of addicts. That's the hard part, It's like, wow, now we have to rehab everybody here. So it's definitely tricky.
Well, and it's like, and that's it. It's like having that grasp, like somebody that just came out of rehab. We're not just going to party with them. We're not going to be all up in their face. We're going to give them their space. We might check in with them and just be like, hey, how you doing? Everything good? Need anything? Good. Okay, I'm out. But that's what I like to view that as, is like, look, this isn't just a push button program. This is something that even if it is an easy push button dog, I do call them push button dogs. Some of them, the ones that are the English labs or whatever, that are just like, we're not used to those.
No, I wish we got more of those, but we do. We kind of see a little bit of everything, and it's so good to have balance. I see a lot of people these days, and I get contacted, by a lot of trainers that, oh man, I want to do what you do, and I want to work with really aggressive dogs, and I want to do this, and I'm just like, you got to have balance. I'll tell you, you've got to have balance, because if all you're dealing with is difficult and aggressive dogs, it's so difficult to actually get a dog to a point that they're safe, that they're lassie. It's almost impossible. So it's, if you're going to keep dealing with that, you can get burnt out very, very quickly. So you always want to balance, something here with a bunch of doodles, or, something that can make you feel happy. And, and those people that bring you those big fluffy dogs that are just total goofballs, they're just as impressed, and even more, oftentimes they're more impressed than somebody who has a really nasty dog. So it's really interesting. So I always do push people. I'm like, hey, please, try and work with something that's fluffy and fun, and and simple, even if it's a puppy, something like that. So it's good.
Oh, wow. This brought up a question, and we were just talking about this. Michelle Knowles, I'll be having her on the show. So if Michelle, if you're listening, I want you on, because we're going to be talking about the grooming topic. But still, I know that this is a bit off topic. Oh wait, this off topic a bit, and this is not the interview to discuss. Please keep in mind for future episode. Do either of you groom your own dogs? Could you talk a little bit about dog psychology of getting the dog comfortable with bathing, nail clipping, general grooming by the owner? I know where I live, there are several dog groomers, and some scare me.
Yep.
Their shops are set up in a scary way. Great questions, man. And yeah, we're definitely going to be delving into this topic. But how do you, I absolutely groom my dogs. I call dogs toenails, everything. It's just part of dog maintenance. And exposure is key. And just doing it over and over again. Do you have any tips or tricks for Mark?
Oh, definitely. Because Mark, I know you just got a new puppy. So, doing everything you can to teach that puppy that hands mean calm, not play. and biting, because puppies are so mouthy and bitey. So when we're dealing a lot with puppies, I do a lot of just condition relaxation, a little Casey Cover style of being able to, really kind of teach dogs that hands don't always mean excitement. Because if you think about, this is always how people greet their dogs, So definitely, being able to do like kind of deep tissue massage and really slow with the young puppy, being able to touch their feet, things like that. Take all the time in the world to do that, and also with the young puppy, making sure they're getting downtime so that they're not so mouthy. But I do appreciate really good groomers, and really experienced groomers are ones that are going to be able to take time to groom your dog. They're not trying to rush in and rush out, because that's scary. It's a lot of pressure on a dog. There's a lot going on there. And some of the worst incidences of really ruining dogs come at the groomer. So it's, it's terrifying, because they're being applied a lot of pressure. So find a really experienced groomer, somebody that's able to kind of take their time with you. But at home, help your groomer out. It will tell you if your dog is crate trained and comfortable being in a kennel, because they may go to the groomer and be in the kennel with the dryer on. So if they're at least comfortable with being crated while they're at the groomer, that's going to make a huge difference. Doing all the touching that you can do, brushing at home is always fantastic. And then as far as skin and coat care goes, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I will definitely hook you up with Michelle Knowles. She is a fantastic, amazing groomer. So she will be a huge asset, and such a cool twist on, hey, we don't always have to talk to dog trainers. Of course, I enjoy this, but I know that, grooming, she will teach you stuff, Bill, and all of the people that watch, it will blow your mind. You're going to hate it, because you're going to learn something that you didn't want to know, and now you're going to be stressing to try and do it right. So I apologize in advance that you're going to hate some of the things she says, because you're going to have to change what you do with your dog and grooming.
Oh, well, I want to build my own grooming table out here. And a lot of times, having that dog up with you too helps. If we're bending over and slipping and like really uncomfortable ourselves and leaning and
putting them up on tables, or even having them jump up onto something that that would be a little bit uncomfortable. It's sometimes to just build trust and even respect for them to trust you to put them up on something that maybe a little shaky, maybe a little wobbly. So but I'll tell you, if you find a more experienced groomer, you're going to find somebody that's a lot more willing to take their time and not apply so much pressure to your dog. We groom dogs at our facility. It's mostly boarding, but just like I said, we are a training facility. So anytime a dog is being groomed, we still take a training aspect. We slow down. We've had some dogs that are there with us for a week, and we can only clip 1 or 2 nails a day. So that's where the patience comes in. But then the next time they come in, we can do a whole paw in 1 day. Then the next time we can do all 4. So it really is about being patient. So yeah, good luck, man. I hope you find a good groomer that you can trust and help out, but do some stuff at home to help them too.
Well, listen to what Heather said about being patient, and the dog is. We only got two claws clipped today. Celebrate it.
Yeah,
because
totally.
you're going to look back and be like, do you remember that day that we could only clip two of his claws?
It's true, man. And you got to set short-term goals and long-term goals, so it makes it easier. So you're not always taking that another step without realizing how far you've actually come. So it's always good to set goals with stuff like that too.
Yeah, celebrate your goals, and remember, especially if you have a high management case, these aren't easy, man. And you need to, just walk every day with purpose and stay present in that moment. And there's a lot to learn from that.
Definitely. All of my training is definitely based on patience over pressure. And that's one of my big things is, hey, patience is always going to win out. You can easily pressure a dog to do something that you want, but if you just take your time and give them an opportunity to think about it, I guarantee they're going to come along, and the long-term effects are going to be much more ingrained and much more detailed. So it takes a little bit longer at the beginning, but the backside of everything just looks amazing, and owners are happy, clients are happy. So yeah, patience over pressure, over trying to rush a dog through something. So you'll win that way. I have a lot of patience.
Yeah. Well, we have to, as working with animals, and You know, just like Krista was saying earlier about the ego thing with the dog training. You know, there's so much gray and so much ego, she says. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you know, a lot of these yank and pull trainers. I mean, it's hard to see, and that leads to apprehension towards that handler. You know, when you have
Right.
patience, and when that dog finally gets like, oh my gosh, this place isn't dangerous, and starts to come out of their shell, and you're like, dude, let me show you this over here. This is, if you think that's great. Oh, did you get a you got a guess there?
Oh, it's my daughter. Oh, this will be cute. Come in, Charlie.
Yeah. We got to wrap it up here pretty soon anyway. We're out an hour, so it's. Hi, Charlie.
Come here. Come to my lap. You haven't met Bill before, but maybe someday.
Look at my big beard.
Yeah.
How old is she now?
She's 3. Yeah, you're good.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's gonna hang out on her tablet because she's 3.
Tell her to watch it live on the tablet.
Oh, yeah, this is Tabby from my book. When things get tough, get patient. Yeah, that's one of mine.
What's the book?
The basics book, the one that had the awesome misspelling on the cover a couple years ago at the ICP conference. So,
is it on Amazon or was it?
It is. Yep, it's The Basics by Heather Beck.
I'm going to put a link really quick here. Amazon.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's short and sweet. It's just kind of, you know, just a bunch of the stuff that we used to hand to clients. We talk about relationship building. We talk about the leash work. We talk about grooming. So, Mark, you want something that you can take a look at for grooming that might help you out a little bit?
There we go. I got it right here. So here's The Basics by Heather Beck here, and I'll put a link in the description here, and we have it on Kindle as well here. So Primal,
thank you.
Practical approach improving human-dog relationships.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Right. So let me. Oh wait, no, I need to put up the link here. I'm trying to bring this down. I got the whole suite back here. I'll put up a link into the comments here. And best way for people to get a hold of you?
Facebook is fine by me. I mean, obviously people are watching through Facebook. So yeah, just, you know, friend me, send me a message. I'm just, like I said, I'm pretty accessible. So it's, you know, I'm busy, but I love to connect with people. And, you know, if anybody has questions, I love doing that. So yeah, reach out. I'm around.
The link to your profile in the comments here, and I'll also put a link to the Canine Lifeline page.
Awesome.
And Heather, thank you so much, man. This is so great.
Oh, it's been such a good time to reconnect. I always love seeing that sweet beard you got. So it's awesome. Are you coming to the ICP conference? You better be.
I am. I'm coming this year. And then I'm going to come down there, man. I need to see what you're doing. When is Jason? Do you have anything planned with Jason yet down there?
I honestly, because Jason's working on his new place, I would assume that if we do another workshop together, it's probably going to be in Texas. But we'll figure something out. So yeah, I'd love to have you down. I think it would absolutely blow your mind just what we're doing and how we do it. So it's you would appreciate it.
I cannot wait to check it out. So awesome. Well, hold on one second. I'm going to put up your link to your profile, and then I'll say goodbye to everybody here.
Thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us on another Bow Wow Bill show.
So exciting.
All right, I'll say goodbye to you here in just 1 second. Bye, everybody.